How many of y'all know that there's a factory that is growing human meat? We are in Black Dot Cultural Center and Bookstore on August 5th. Okay, this is Black August, baby. We are here to talk about Who Cloned Tyrone. All right, so yeah, you know, every now and again, something comes through the pipeline. You know what I mean? We get things like The Matrix and Inception and stuff. You know, stuff come through. Shoot, even Friday. Friday was one of the moments. I don't care what nobody say, you know? But people been asking me for some time, they like, KT, when you gonna break the movies down again? Cause I just been on Genes and The Sun and you know what I mean, health and food and how to live long. And they like, okay, KT, that's great. You know what I'm saying? Living forever is awesome. But can you break a movie? I'm like, okay, that's more important, sure. But I've been saying like, Hollywood been trash. You know what I'm saying? Ain't been nothing of substance to really talk about. I could break things down, but I don't feel like wasting my time. So They Cloned Tyrone. I saw the photo of this movie almost 2 years ago. Like this movie been on ice actually. And it was the photo of the three of them in the elevator with those outfits on, and it was called Who Cloned Tyrone? I'm like, what's this? And then I read the little synopsis. I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. And then all this time went by, and then it finally came out, and I was like, yeah, we about to break this thing down real quick. So I know some of y'all probably seen the introduction in part 1 on Black Magic with Brother Rich. You know, everybody loves it, you know what I mean? And as we speak, I'm on high-level conversations with 19 Keys, and we're talking about the movie and a lot of other things. It's airing right now, so when y'all done, y'all will be able to check that too. So I didn't have enough time to really go into everything that I saw in the movie at the time. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do some slides and like start off with, you know, the basics and everything. But I was like, I'll do a presentation where I can go in deeper, you know. So luckily Black Dot Kaz was able to open up the doors. Give Kaz a round of applause, please, for the establishment. Baba Kaz. And he gave me an opportunity to come in here and jumpstart his August festivities. And I was like, let's talk about this. All right, so Hollywood Decoded is, you know, about, at this point, it's like 15, 16 years now. And it started because I would always break movies down, and my brothers, Red and Blue, they'd be like, how you see all that? You know what I'm saying? So I finally got an opportunity to like speak on it, and people just really gravitated towards it. So usually what I do is I start off by telling people, like when you think about Hollywood, most people don't know that Hollywood means the wood of a holly tree. And the wood of a holly tree is the wood that is used to create the wands. So when you see Harry Potter and you see all these wizards and everybody casting spells, that wood is Hollywood. So you got Hollywood, you got them casting in order for them to get people to act and everything like that. So you got the casting. You need a writer to start a film. That's the first part of doing any film is writing, that's spelling. All right. And then celebrities, people that you actually cast are called stars. So they're casting stars, they're casting spells, they're writing spells, you know, they're using Hollywood. So it's definitely a whole energy of magic and intention that is occurring. All right. And magic is just a way of saying unknown magnetism. Magnet and magic is the same thing, because most people don't know how magnetism works the same way people don't know how magic works, and they're one and the same. It's a hidden force. behind all things. So this presentation is They Cloned Tyrone, Decoded, Clone Wars, because there's a lot of cloning going on these days. Assimilation versus annihilation, and if you notice in assimilation and annihilation, they both have AI in there. All right, so Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out not too long ago. Show of hands, how many people follow Guardians of the Galaxy? Okay, a few people. All right. So it's a series about a group of people that are out of space, you know, and they pretty much are like a more edgy Star Wars movie. You know, like people who came up watching Star Wars, they enjoy Star Wars. People that haven't, they can't get with it. But Guardians of the Galaxy got kind of an edge to it where a lot of people that ain't into Star Wars, they could get with it. Well, the third installment of this film had a theme, and the theme had underlying tones of the Anunnaki and Yakub. So the Anunnaki is a race of beings that are responsible for genetically manipulating the human species. And they did that in order to get us to mine gold. So a lot of our genetics have been manipulated by way of this alien species called the Anunnaki. And then you also have the story of Yakub, who is responsible for the genetic engineering that led to the Caucasians. So they touch on this in this movie symbolically. They even have a villain, and his name is called the High Evolutionary. And he's playing around cross-breeding animals with machines and nanotechnology and things of that nature. So they have it all over. So the same way this movie touched on those themes, They Cloned Tyrone touched on these themes as well. But this is more of a macrocosm, meaning more on a universal galactic scale, while Who Cloned Tyrone is more on a grounded microcosmic scale. All right. And that's Rocket Raccoon. There's not too many movies you could watch that do well that have a anthropomorphic raccoon running around. Because when I heard they was doing it, I was like, how they gonna make this work? And they made it work. You know what I'm saying? But when you hear the word raccoon, what part of that word stands out? Of course, right? And who's a coon? Who were referred to as coons? Black people, right? Now, the Anunnaki, per the ancient Sumerian texts, group of deities that were believed to have created the human race as a slave species for mining gold, suggesting a manipulation of genetics on a celestial scale. The Yakub theory, derived from the teachings of the Nation of Islam, describes a scientist named Yakub who, like senescent Fontaine, who we're going to speak about later, created the white race. Both theories are intricate tales of genetic manipulation and creation, reflecting the larger-than-life galactic scope of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. In contrast, They Cloned Tyrone explores the subject on a much more personal and intimate scale within the realm of the neighborhood. It hints at the idea of an invisible enemy, possibly referring to clandestine genetic manipulation conducted under the guise of scientific advancement or societal benefit. So Rocket Raccoon, raccoons, you know, all animals have their scientific name. Well, raccoons are called Procyon. Procyon is a star, all right? It's part of a celestial body, all right? So we've all heard of Sirius B before, and Sirius B is part of Canis Major. Well, you have Canis Minor, and that's what Procyon is. So that's a relation to Sirius B and the dog star. So in the film Guardians of the Galaxy, after they go through all the climactic scenes and everything like that, we finally find out after these 3 movies what Rocket Raccoon's origins are. And when we find out what his origin is North America. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but it's everything, because we only hear about Africa, right? India, Asia, and we always are coming from the greatness is always the ancient, the antiquity is always stemming from where we're not. But in this situation, the most profound, charismatic character, and he's the most intelligent too, out of everybody in the galaxy, puts together all these gadgets and everything like that, and he's gangster. He ain't fearful of anything like that. He got a sense of humor and all that. He has a lot of swag. So if anybody got any type of soul in him, Rocket Raccoon got the soul in the movie, right? But to find out that he comes from North America, it brings it home. You know what I'm saying? So I found that quite interesting. Now, why is that important? Because when we talk about genetics, so women are known as what? XX. And men are known as what? XY. Okay, so the definitive factor that separates men from women is what? I don't know, you tell me. Nah. But now, the Y chromosome, all right? So there was a series called Y the Last Man. Anybody seen that? Yeah, they cut it quick. They cut it quick. The series, it comes from a comic book where, imagine we wake up tomorrow. You done argued with your husband, you done cursed out your daddy, you might have made love to your boyfriend for that night or something like that. You done seen your professor got your grades. You know what I'm saying? You see a guy behind the counter, interaction with men all day long, and you get up the next morning and every man on the planet dies. So there's only women left, except for one guy. And this is what the series is about. And it shows theoretically what would happen in the world if there was no more men. It was just women. And they played that thing for about 8 episodes. They was like, nah, we ain't about to. We ain't about. Why the last man? Why the letter Y, the last man? They was like, nah, we can't show this no more. They yanked that thing off quick. So y'all need to look that series up. And the comic book is even deeper because that's where it comes from. But we all know what the out of Africa theory, right? Everybody came out of Africa and then we all evolved, right? Okay, so what a lot of people don't know about is A001, all right, which is a specific haplotype. So in 2013, the Y chromosomal DNA of Albert Perry, that sounds like a brother from the Carolinas right there. Old Al Perry, you know what I'm saying, from Charlotte. An African American from South Carolina was found to belong to the rare lineage A001. This lineage represents one of the earliest branches of the human Y chromosome tree. Because this movie is about being a man. I don't know if people noticed, but in this film, there was no homosexuality. There was no transgenders. There was no softies. There were just men and women in this movie. It, as much as I didn't notice that till I saw it again. I was like, wait a minute. She no rainbows, no pixie dust or nothing in it. I can't believe it. So the discovery of A00 and Albert Perry's DNA highlights the genetic diversity and ancient roots of Black Americans in America. Okay? The Glen. Okay? It provides evidence that African populations have been present in the Americas for thousands of years, contributing to rich tapestry of human history in the region. But this finding underscores the relevance and deep historical connections of Black Americans to ancient America, challenging previous narratives that often overlooked or minimized their contributions and presence. So we all think everybody came over on a boat, but a lot of us were already here, okay? So it's not just about, oh man, no, we came on the boats a long time ago and we established ourselves. No, we was on both lands. And if the lands were together and they split apart, then shoot, we was all on one land, and then the lands became separate then, you know what I mean? So A001. And the reason why that's so important is because if you see on the left right here at the top, when they finally descended down in the underworld and were looking at all of the clones, and Fontaine walked up to his clone was called A001. So Tyrone means land, because that's all that is of value. That's all they want to take. That's all they want to do, blow things up, make everything just so uncomfortable so you leave so then they can build up shop. You see what I'm saying? Tyrone means land. Tyrone also means tyrosine, which is the root of creating melanin. You're not making melanin without the amino acid tyrosine. But Tyrone means land, all right? And this is the keystone, all right? The keystone. And the keystone has on it these letters, SHTWSSTK, and those letters stands for Hiram, Tyrion, widow's son sent to King Solomon, all right? But Hiram Abiff, who's known as the widow's son and also the king of Tyre. All right. So when you see the word Tyrone, it is referencing the king of Tyre and the fact that Tyrone means land and the story of Hiram Abiff. And Hiram Abiff is the architect of Solomon's temple. Now, what is Solomon's temple, y'all?
Your body.
And more specifically, the brain. If you read Solomon's temple, the passages about Solomon's temple in the Bible, and they're describing the curtains and the dimensions and the length and how things are set up. They're talking about specific parts of the brain, corpus callosum, limbic brain, thalamus, you know. These are specific physical structures in the brain that are built in order for your brain to function properly and you to have cognitive functioning. So when you're dealing with the head chief architect of that, then you're talking about someone that knows how to build the brain, build the mind, build thought, build the body, build genetics. There's no greater architecture than that of genetics coming together in order to build you up. So this is what Tyrone stood for, because the whole movie is about manipulating the genes in order to do what? Clone. So the movie begins with a white man ecstatically staring over a group of black men discussing Michael Jackson and Tupac. Somebody was like, no, you talk about Tupac. I'm like, before he said Tupac, he said Michael Jackson, who we all know assimilated over a generation. So the old Fontaine was wanting to do it in 5, but we witnessed it with one generation with Michael Jackson. That's why when they went downstairs, that's what the tech was, don't stop till you get enough. He was jamming. Right? He was jamming the don't stop till you get enough. You know what I mean? So this guy right here, his name is John Williams. He wrote a book called The Man Who Cried I Am. And anybody ever heard of the King Alfred plan? So that whole breakdown of the King Alfred plan actually originated in this book that he wrote. All right. So the film They Cloned Tyrone unravels the narrative by integrating various timelines from the 70s to the 2000s. The relevance of these timelines is tied to the 1967 King Alfred plan's enactment, which moved from drug distribution in neighborhoods to subtle incorporation into everyday products. This broad era scopes sources diverse cultural references, including Barack Obama, the mention of Hollow Man, beepers, flip phones, SpongeBob, cryptocurrency, blockchain, right? Showing that we're in a time loop and that these agendas are implemented over time. It's not no overnight sensation. It's over time these things are implemented. All right. Also, what was I going to say? The drug distribution, remember the guy that we thought everybody got hyped when he got out that car. We saw Kiefer Sutherland. He was like, the white man, there you go, that's the bad guy. And then he was like, nah, I answer to somebody too. But his name was Nixon because Nixon is the person who's responsible for implementing Schedule 1 drugs.